Rugby's something that maybe you didn't think you could ever do.
When I step out onto the field, I leave everything else behind.
You know you always have someone there for you.
It was just so unique that you want to experience it again.
These ladies, you know, the game becomes more to them.
When I first came to school here, there wasn't a team.
Played for 4 years in high school. When I came here, I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna give up rugby because I don't have a women's club, and it was just really depressing. I was missing it a lot, and I was playing with the guys' team a little bit, and I was just missing it too much.
We met in our anatomy class. I remember being in the cafeteria and she was trying to draw out positions.
She just had to listen to me talk about it, so I would just draw it out on napkins for her.
And I had no clue what she was talking about.
She's just like, this doesn't make any sense.
So we got 5 girls together, and that's kind of how we started.
I wanted somebody to talk to about the sport, and I thought maybe I could find people that had played before. But I ended up getting a bunch of girls that some of them had never even played a sport before. They just wanted something different. Our first coach, his name's Pat, she was like, if you put up flyers, people will come, they will. And so I did, and slowly people just kind of started to filter in. I think maybe we had practice with 8 people, and then all of a sudden one day there was 20 people at practice. It was just insane. I was super overwhelmed. We had only done just really minimal drills up until that point. And I was like, oh, this might actually be something. It was not expected, not even a little bit.
Move-in day, that's when we get the most girls, is move-in day. And they were talking about how oh, they just started up the women's rugby.
One of the vets came up to me and handed me a flyer, and she's like, come out to practice. And I was like, I don't think so.
Was it Jordan? Because I hunted her down.
I talked to Alexis, I think earlier that day when she was tabling, and I was like, so I think I'm gonna join.
I saw her in every single one of my classes, and she was like, see you at practice. So I was like, okay, I guess so.
And I was so scared. I'm just like, oh my God, I'm gonna die or I'm gonna get hurt.
I have to do it now. I really have to do it. I said that I was gonna do it.
Screw it, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna sign up.
And it was one of the most scariest thing I've ever done.
So it was all of us on the very first day. So they broke it down for the basics and everything. So they were all really nice.
The first practice was over, and I was like, okay, I'm coming back.
People will tell you that you can or can't do something because of the way that you are. And I don't know, rugby is super badass. It gave me a sense of empowerment as soon as I started playing.
I feel like I've gotten a lot more confident in myself.
Just knowing that you play rugby, telling people I play rugby, that's just empowering in itself.
There are no sports, that do contact like we do contact, especially with as minimal protective wear.
If you talk to somebody else and they play rugby, it's instant connection. Oh my God, what? You're such a badass. That's so cool, I do it too.
I did that, I did it. You definitely do feel accomplished after a game.
Off the field, I'm usually on the quieter side and not that outgoing, but as soon as the kickoff starts, there's kind of this switch and I go into my rugby mode.
The rules aren't different for men's and women's rugby. I think that's something else that builds empowerment and confidence in the women who play. They just get to do it. The difference is literally the physical body difference,
I tell people I play rugby, they're like, you do? You don't seem like you would. I'm like, well, I do.
If you tell a guy that you play rugby, he's like, what do you mean you play rugby? You're too small or you're too pretty.
A lot of them ask, isn't that the one with the stick? No, that's the cross.
When they come out and they take their first hit, a lot of people decide they don't like it. And that goes for men's and women's rugby.
I think there's some girls that have come out to practice, gotten tackled once, and they're like, oh, this maybe isn't for me. Other people think it draws them in, they like it.
I love tackling. I love it. There's something about it. To be successful, you have to do it right, and you have to do it with everything that you have. You can't do your job unless you trust the person next to you. And injuries happen.
It's part of the game, the bruises, the bumps, it's not a big deal. You gotta get back out there.
People always tell me, oh, you're scarring up your body, like, you know, what man is gonna want you if you scar up your legs? And I tell them that I am so proud of every single scar on my legs, you know, because they came from hard work. You know, if men can have rough hands, why can't I have scars on my legs? You know, and you don't have to be this stereotypical, like, skinny, fit girl to be a good athlete as a rugby player.
It doesn't really matter if, like, how big you are, how tall you are, how short you are, there's a position for you.
Like, our team is really small, and we love the big girls. We love them. They make our pack stronger. They make our lineouts cleaner. You know, rugby, there are pieces of it that are sloppy and messy, and so if you don't have that finesse, well, that's kind of okay. It definitely gave me an outlet to be myself and be comfortable. I think that's what rugby gives a lot of people, is just a space that we can all just be kind of weird together. We all have this common ground, and it doesn't really matter about everything else. Everything else just gives us perspective.
Being in that family and playing rugby, it's just like a way of life almost.
We're actually like friends, not just teammates, we're friends.
I spend majority of my time with my teammates.
I have no intention of giving up rugby. I picture myself just doing it till I'm brittle, till I actually can't. There's always that piece that kind of brings you together, but it's always wonderful to see just how people keep rugby in their lives, and how even after they've retired and they've hung up their boots, they still remember the culture and they still remember the family aspect. They still have that piece.